I was watching this drummer. I like watching him a lot. His name's Samus66 or something like that, and he's a badass drummer. He has some videos, and he's showing like the easy bass, and like he wrote the riff, and then he pulls up easy bass, he just drops the riff into the easy bass, and it makes this sick ass bass line. I'm like, what the fuck, like. Like, what do you do? And then I looked into it, and it's so intensive. Like, you can change the slide, how it slides in and out with the notes. I'm like, it's pretty much like Vocaloid, but for bass. I mean, they've been doing it for a while.
Yeah.
Then there's
an easy
piano.
drummer too.
Yeah, I got Easy Drummer.
But the thing with Easy Drummer and Easy Bass, the thing that I actually like about the programs is they're actual sampled instruments. And what I used to do when I was in the studio, I sampled my kit. And that was pretty awesome because if you have Superior Drummer, I could take my kit samples. If I made my own samples, I could put them in there, and then you would do a bunch of different hits, and there are a bunch of like MIDI files, and you upload those in there, and then you can just go back to it. So like I can access my Mapex kit through Superior Drummer whenever I do it. So if I need to do another layer of drums or something, and that's tedious as fuck to do. Like that's really crazy.
But this is really interesting though, because like it takes having to learn that skill out of the equation, because you're trading, like either you get someone that can do it live, like a good singer or a good musician, but they've put in thousands of hours of work into that. So like it's taking away that need to have to practice and develop the skill, and instead you can do it with software. So it's like, in the future, will this discourage people from learning those instruments?
Well, I think you still need to learn it because of music. You still need to know music theory. I think music theory is gonna become more important, because when you go into those programs, it's not easy. You actually got to learn the skill of operating that program. Because I remember Superior Drummer was intense. So I don't know how to think about it. Like, you're gonna now, instead of going to learn the drums, is it easier just to learn? Because to me, it's easier to it's easier to play a drum beat and record it, and then to fix it afterwards.
But that's only because you've been playing it.
But that's only because
you know how to play drums. If you don't know how to play drums and you're starting from scratch,
is it easier though?
Easier to pull a beat.
I don't know. It might be the same. Yeah, although to answer Wave's question though, I think it's already happening, right? Like, I mean, a lot of music that's being created nowadays is created electronically rather than with instruments.
My question is, so like, okay, so Wave understands drums. He's played different styles of beats. If you've never played drums and don't understand different styles of beats, how do you know to put the right thing in, you know?
Dude, because it you listen to rock music beat, jazz beat, funk beat, and you go, here's sounds cool. And it's basic enough that you're
if
gonna
you
be
ever try those programs, it's very stale, because it's like the fill doesn't make sense, and you're like, well, no, a normal
organic.
Yeah, a normal drummer like Wave would not do that fill. Like, he wouldn't.
Dude, I don't know, man. I got Easy Drummer, and I was able to put together some pretty cool shit. And it wasn't like, if I was a drummer, I would do this. It's like, here's 5 or 6 different options, and you can, this one's a little faster, this one's slower.
But Wave has more than 5 or 6 options at his disposal.
Oh yeah, definitely. But like he was saying, if you're not a musician, you're not a drummer, and you're trying to make a song, you can definitely make a fucking pretty convincing song.
When I hear people use,
what I'm trying to say is, you listen to music and you hear the drum beats, and if you hear it and you know what you want it to sound like, we all create music inspired by what we like listening to. So if you hear the drum beat that you want in your head, you can make it easily with Easy Drummer without having to learn how to play it, Right. That's what I was trying to say.
But people aren't going to do that. They're going to go through.
They're already doing that.
No, but like, not everybody's going to do that. Like, the good ones are going to do that. So I still think there's going to be some human element, because if they do what Ryan does and choose between those 6 selection, you're going to hear all the same fills in a bunch of songs. I'm like,
You will, and I think here's my question, right? Oh my God, you just brought up. I have so many questions about this now. You guys were just talking about that. So one, like what's a DJ? Like they're doing that already, right? Like they are programming beats. Most of them probably aren't actually professional drummers, right? But they're programming beats and creating like these EDM songs or whatever that have drums in them, and they're doing that all on a computer. So that's happening, and they're doing that without being professional musicians, outside of being able to create the beats or whatever. But at the same time, I totally understand what Alan's saying, because the amount of times that people come into my comment sections and are like, "Thank you for explaining what we're hearing," type of comment makes me think that like a lot of people might not be able to just like kind of like hear it and be like, okay, I know how I would want to do this if I were to put it together also.
Right.
So how many times do we bitch about how fucking boring popular radio is? People don't, and it's
yeah.
Musicians appreciate little differences in music and stuff, but the vast majority of people don't give a fuck.
Well, that's the thing. Like there's already a ton of people making music that's not really worth listening to.
And I'm not trying to dissuade people from using humans. You know what I mean? I'm just saying it's pretty easy to make a track with what's available and make it a pretty convincing track.
Yeah, I do think that people are doing it and people can do it, but I always think that it's going to be more consistently impressive and listenable if it's done with real human people that actually understand music theory and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, my main question at the start of this was, will people continue to learn those crafts? Like for me as a kid, I didn't have video games. I didn't have a cell phone. I didn't have access to the internet. So I actually had time to dedicate myself to learning this craft. And that's why I am where I am today. But like with all the distractions now, and if you can make close to the same sounds with software where you don't have to learn that craft, will people be motivated to learn it?
I think it'll become more valuable.
I think they'll learn the instrument once they hit limitations with the software, because I think there is limitations eventually. Because when I did piano pieces, I started learning piano 5 years ago because I realized the piano synths I was putting behind my music felt weird. And I'm like, there's something I'm not understanding, so I took piano lessons. But that's just me. That's what I did, because I did use MIDI, and I would program it because I understood like how to program. I could figure out the notes on the guitar, and then it matched it up, right? But then afterwards, I'm like, oh shit, it doesn't make sense though. Something's missing. And then I learned, and then I understood what I was missing out on piano, because then I started understanding. Because some people like me, I couldn't listen to a piano piece and figure out how to program it. Like I'm not that good. Like I could listen to piano and be like, that's fucking amazing, but I have no clue how to program that. So I had to learn piano to figure out how to program it. So I think it could go back and forth. But like I said, that's just me though. Some people can listen to piano and just program it no problem, or they have that AI where it tracks all the pieces and puts it in. I don't know.
I'm going to support and counter my own comment on that. So like I said, I could bring up Easy Drummer, and I've used it to make up like just backing tracks, real quick backing tracks, so I could play along to it, right? And I put videos out using that, and it's really fucking cool. And I thought, well, I can use this for my own music, right? And what did I do? I fucking called up Wave. I'm like, hey man, you want to play some tracks on my music? It's just it's fucking better. Can I do it? Yes, but I mean, it's for making backing tracks something simple to jam to. You can do it, and you can I can put some great guitar elements over it and singing to where if I want that to focus, then nobody's going to give a fuck about the drums. Man, the guitar is really good. So it's a tool, but ultimately, I want somebody who knows
it's got a lower. It's got a lower ceiling, right? Like you can get there, but it doesn't reach the same heights as like if you had humans doing it themselves.
Yeah, but when it comes down to it, I'd rather have a skilled drummer playing on what I think is skilled musicianship on my end, because I'm always going to be like, it probably could be something different,
Right. I want to follow up on what Wave said though, too, because like he was asking, right, like would this, make people maybe less interested in playing the instruments? And my follow-up question to that would be, has that already happened? Like, I wonder how many people are playing instruments today versus how many people were playing instruments in like 1991 or whatever. Now that there are softwares out there that make it so that you don't have to. I mean, we hear so much more electronic music today than we don't.
I for sure think more people play instruments more often today because
it's easier to play along with shit now because there's
I think you're wrong about that. I have nothing. I have no evidence to back that up whatsoever. But I talk to like, my son or whatever. Like he doesn't have any friends that are playing instruments outside of like the instruments that they're asking them to play at like school or anything like that. They're not forming bands or anything at his school, So like there are a couple outliers or whatever. But at my school, when out in 1999 or whatever, there was like 20 bands in my school.
Yeah, well, there's a big difference between forming bands and then people playing instruments. My son plays, and what have you been doing today? He's like, oh, I was teaching Gage how to play guitar, and then his like four of his friends play guitar, but they're not like trying to get a band together. But I'm up here and I heard him playing around. I said, and I was editing something. I stopped and went out there. I'm like, hey, you work on like tremolo picking? He's like, yeah, I'm learning the solo for Master of Puppets. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? He's like watching TikTok. They take him step by step through Master of Puppets, and he's like not doing bad. I'm like, dude, you're hitting a lofty goal here to start out.
Would this be different though if we were talking to people whose parents don't play instruments? You know what I mean? Like we play instruments, so we're like putting it on our kids, But like if you're talking to just like some rando that didn't play instruments when they were younger, are those kids as inclined today?
Even though I'm here, he comes to me to show me stuff, and then I'll explain some things to him. He doesn't come to me like, hey, how do I do this? Like he's learning shit on his own. Definitely being surrounded by guitars probably has an influence on what he chose to play. But I think just us being their parents is influencing them. Definitely. But the interest is there. Like if you want to play something, you have so many more avenues to be able to learn it than when I was a fucking kid.
Also so true. Oh my God, I wish I had fucking the internet. When I first grabbed a guitar or whatever, it would have made everything better.
Right.
Yeah.
But we didn't even have the songs there. You had to pay for songs to listen to play along.
I'd say that too, but then I wonder, like, would I have put the same amount of time and effort into playing if I had the distraction of YouTube?
Great point, Wave. Yeah. And that I probably wouldn't have. I don't think I ever would have picked up a guitar.
This is just some random surveys. Like this survey was of 3,000 people, U.S. adult citizens. It says, with them, a musical instrument at some point in their lives. With younger adults, 71% even more likely than older adults to have played some sort of musical device. So what they're saying is they just played it. If they kept up with it, they're not sure. I don't.
What's a younger adult though? Are we considered younger adults?
I'm trying to look for it. But do you guys remember the thing that happened with Rocksmith and Guitar Hero when that boom happened and everyone started picking up? Everybody started picking up a real guitar after that. And then when Rocksmith came out, they're like, well, fuck Guitar Hero. Pretty much killed it because they were able to video game, put it in a video game style. Right? And I've seen so many Rocksmith players on Twitch come up, and I want to give a shout out to Good. He has a Twitch channel. He's only playing guitar for a year, and he's like already doing like solos and stuff. I'm like, holy shit! And he's, I think, my age, if I'm not mistaken, and he just started a year ago and is already at a pretty good level. And I think with stuff like that, it just motivates people to play instruments. So I have to feel like there is more people playing instruments because back in the 80s and stuff, it was hard to afford a guitar. Guitars were not affordable like they are now. I can go to Guitar Center and get a guitar for $150 with an amp and a strap and picks.
And it's decent quality.
And it's decent. You couldn't do that in the 80s. So I have to believe there's more people playing instruments now.
I still go back and I go like, okay, but like the music itself. So let's think about what's popular in the zeitgeist currently, right? Like bands, at least in America, are much less popular, and you have much less of a chance to make money off of playing an instrument nowadays than when electronic music wasn't a thing.
But there's some people that play instruments.
Are that many people doing it as a hobby? Really? Like
that's how I start. Like I didn't.
There's a lot of people that just
about
play
money when I was learning drums. I was just like, don't have any friends.
Like, well, not thinking about money, but thinking about doing something with it at some point.
My Uncle John is in his early 50s. He started guitar 3 years ago, and he just does it for fun every weekend. He's like, Alan, can you show me a chord real quick? Yeah, sure. And he's never played his entire life. So I don't know. There is people out there that just like to play guitar and just say, yeah, I can play. I don't really have any interest in it being a band. It's just a cool thing to know.
Oh, I'm sure that's the case. Like, I'm not denying that. I'm just trying to think of like overall, like I guess I'm more looking at it from the perspective of like what music is popular and how rock music is not nearly as popular. So you would think less people would be playing things that would lead into rock music just from that perspective. But you can totally be right. You know, I'm just trying to put logic to something that I don't actually have an answer to.
I just like I said, if I'm thinking about like the 80s, early 90s, how expensive it was to even play an instrument. I remember when I tried to play guitar, my mom looked at me like I was crazy. I'm not buying you a guitar because you're probably just not going to ever play it. And then I had to actually save up for 4 years to play guitar. And then all of a sudden, I got
$150, you get a competent guitar, a decent amp, a fucking Strat picks, like everything you need.
It's an easy gift. Like at that point, like back then, my mom had to pay like $400, $500, you know, just to get me a guitar.
And you probably get slivers.
Well, how about this though, man? How many people now are? It used to seem like, and I'm not. Okay, I had like 3-4 thoughts go through my head at the same time. Multi-instrumentalists, like it seems like it was more of a unique thing several years ago, and now it's like a lot of people like finding somebody that just plays guitar is weird. Like that's all you do.
Yeah,
you
now
just play guitar.
That's a really good point, Ryan. Or how many people actually can mix now, or like they do their own engineering, you know?
Yeah. I mean, or at least try, you know, I mean, it's so much easier to have access to everything that.
Does it count? Does it count if somebody plays guitar and can also pick up a bass and play that because they know how to play guitar? Does that make them a multi-instrumentalist?
I mean,
most drummers play guitar now.
I think so.
Like most drummers play guitar and bass. I just met up with a guy 2 weeks ago. I went over. He's like, "Yeah, just start playing guitar." Like he's like 22. He's like, "I just started playing guitar 6 months ago." Starts playing riffs. I'm like, "Holy fuck!" And he's an amazing drummer too. And I'm like, "Wow." Like it's just crazy.
I don't know, man. You can do something competently, or you can just fill in, you know, the space needed on a track. But I don't know if you're willing to, because I can figure out a piano piece and insert it into a song, but I'm not a fucking piano player. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I wouldn't consider that one of my multi-instrumentalist things, but I can do a couple things on it that would be impressive, but that's all I can do.
I feel like once you learn one instrument, you have like an understanding as to how instruments work. So it's easier to learn the second instrument.
True.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, if you can utilize multiple instruments in a track you record, fuck it, man. That's cool.
That's exactly what you said, Champ. Like it took me 6 hours to learn the ukulele, you know, because I already knew how to play guitar.
Yeah.
And it's basically just a guitar with the top 4 strings sliced from the 5th fret up, you know?
Right. Yeah. And like I was saying with the bass, like, you know, I played guitar my whole life, but the only time that I toured around the country, I was on a bass. You know, I had never played bass before in my whole life. And somebody said, "Will you play bass on our tour with us?" And I said, "Sure." And I took their bass and I just played their songs on the bass. And like, so, you know, I would never consider myself a bassist because I never spent any time practicing
You're more
bass.
of a fucking bass player than I was.
But yeah, like I played more bass in more states than I did guitar.
I fucking toured on bass, motherfucker.
Dude, it is. I mean, it's a totally different instrument, though.
Bass.
Yeah, but I feel like are there any guitarists out there that would feel like you couldn't play a bass if you were asked to support them?
I feel like you can kind of tell if it's a guitarist
when I play a bass.
If it's a guitarist playing a bass or like a bassist.
Really?
Yeah, there's a difference. Yeah. There's a big difference.
When I get on a bass, it's a guitar player fucking around on a bass.
Yeah. The skills like finger picking and slapping and stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I didn't know how to do any of that. I was just playing with a pick the whole time. But
you can get away with playing with a pick.
Yeah, Misa does okay with it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just a pure musicianship, you know. You got to know where to fucking play.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but when I pick up a bass, like no matter how many strings it has, I get so much more intimidated and nervous than when I'm holding a guitar.
Really? Interesting.
It feels like a foreign instrument compared to a guitar.
You get you a nicer bass. What kind of bass are you trying to play? Mean bass.
I got nice basses. I just think it's like, I don't know.
He's got like a standing bass.
You don't have as many strings, so and the strings are different. Like a 6-string bass doesn't have E, A, D, G, B, G, B, E. You know, the standard tuning, it starts on B, and then the last string is C. So they're all, you can do octaves with all
the last
3
string can
layers.
be B if you tune it that way.
Yeah, you can just tune it, baby. That's what I'll do.
Do whatever you want, man.
doing
the
that shit to
string
E.
gauges, I don't know if they could handle that.
Yeah, I can. It's only up a step.
2.5 steps.
Yeah.
Be pretty
Yeah, I mean, I
tight.
guess it depends. I feel like, I don't know. I feel pretty comfortable with the bass, and I think maybe it just has more to do with the fact that I feel like I can hide what I'm doing underneath the other instruments that are playing it.
I never knew how I was supposed to tune a 6-string bass. I'm like, should it be this way or that way? I just tuned it like a guitar, so I could just play it like a fucking guitar.
Nice.
Yeah.
Because I knew how to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I knew my way around.
I mean, my bass is tuned to A, E, A, D, G. So, I mean, it's standard tuning, but drop A at the top.
Drop A.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that's how I do it.
The one that I used recently was just a 4-string. The 4 strings are tuned normally, right? E, A, D, G.
Yeah.
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 That's what I mean. It is the same tuning. I mean, when you have the
But
6
then
string,
you're missing those 2 strings, so you can't. Like you have to go up the neck.
You got to
play
do what
the
Misa
notes
does.
that
You got to slide all the way up.
Yeah, for Misa,
Yeah.
you don't use the other strings anyway. She could pretty
slide
much
all
play on
over.
an E and an A or a B and an E string, and that's it.
there you go.
Two-string bass.
I think the bottom line is I'm a lazy loser.
There you go.
that is
We
effort.
finally get to the point.
This is
need to put more effort in.
Wave. You are so
When I see Wave, I'm
too
going to
self-deprecating,
I
man.
know. I'm
You're
gonna
not
like
fucking lazy, dude.
smack him in the face and be like, "Get out
Yeah.
of it!"
I'm lazy. Yeah, you record
but-
like 8 fucking tracks for different drum songs for different people.
It's
over the
true though.
weekend.
Like I want it to be as low effort as possible. Like when I say I'm a groove drummer, it's just because I don't feel like putting in the effort to play at faster tempos.
And you
getting
do
all sweaty.
anyway.
I don't want to break a sweat while I'm playing drums.
You're an efficiency expert.
Yeah, that's efficiency right
You
there.
wanna be efficient.
I like that. I like that. Can I use that for everything that I do? Like
I'm
every
trying to
time?
be more efficient. Get off my back.
If you are enjoying these clips from our full podcast, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Turn on all those notifications so you don't miss out when we go live on Sunday, which is always the same time at 9 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. And if you can't catch it there, we're also on Spotify and future streaming platforms in the future, because that's where the future takes place. I don't know. Just hit subscribe, guys.